This is Vinyl 4. This is our recap number 2. So this is our second round of Sweet 16. Craig, I'm excited. This has been fun. We've now got 8. We've done 8 episodes of Vinyl 4s, so we have 32. We did our first 4 episodes in a recap, did 4 more episodes or rounds. Now we're going to do this recap, and then next week we'll jump right back into round 9. So
Mhm.
today's episode is strictly to go through the Sweet 16 for this round, and we'll just spend a minute or so talking about each of our choices up to this point, and if we think that's a legitimate contender to make it all the way through to the end. For those who are joining us for the first time, the whole idea behind this, we take the Rolling Stone 500 greatest albums of all time, and we do random matchups, and trust me, it's random. Numbers are generated outside of our control. We've had Radiohead versus Radiohead, so it's completely random. But we then pick our favorite albums. We have to make a choice on them, and we get it down to a Vinyl 4 on every episode. So this is a recap of the last 4 episodes. Here we go. Craig, you're going to go first with you. You're going to talk about 8 that you picked in the last 4 rounds. I'll talk about the 8 I picked, and we're just going to go back and forth. So you take it away.
Cool. Yeah, mine is loaded. Yeah, I have a loaded list of 8 great albums here. It starts with Ray Charles's "Birth of Soul." Um, you know Ray Charles, what he means to me. One of my favorite artists of all time. One of my first loves of all time. I mean, we literally stay up as a kid to watch PBS sign off so that I could hear Georgia on My Mind because I lived in Georgia. So it was a Georgia PBS channel. And this is as good as it gets. Birth of Soul is one of those albums that came in at 54, highly, highly regarded. I love all of his collection. I love all of his albums, even though a lot of stuff is spread out, and this kind of compiles stuff into it as a compilation. Just a great album. Um, can't say much more than that. Excellent.
I think you summed it up, and what a great artist he is. I'll switch to my also great artist. This one is surprising a little bit because I don't know that I would have thought about this one making a Vinyl 4 or Sweet 16, but as we went through the rounds, what I love about it with the matchups, in the end, I couldn't resist. Carole King, Tapestry, 1971, one of the greatest singer-songwriter albums of all time. Put it up there with some of Dylan's best work. She was a great songwriter already, and then she does this album, and who knew her voice was just amazing, and her arrangements of these songs that people already knew that she'd written and made famous for other people, and she's doing those plus some others, and it's just an incredible album. It's a beautiful record. It's so well recorded. The instrumentation, everything about it is great. I love this record, and I'll say it, I'm not a huge Carole King fan overall, but
Yeah,
this record is undeniable, and it's one of the best anyone will ever hear. It's a great Sunday afternoon rainy day record.
absolutely. Perfectly said. Next up for me, came in at 223. I feel like that's awful high for U2's War, 1983. This is their third album. They had put out Boy, October, then came War. This is the album that really kind of put them on the map. Absolutely iconic. I mean, Sunday Bloody Sunday, of course, New Year's Day. But some of the best songs on here are the ones that people don't know. Like songs like Surrender, love Surrender, um, The Refugee, Two Hearts Beat as One. I mean, this album is just from top to bottom. Plus, if you look at some of the bonus tracks and stuff that were unreleased tracks in this, you realize how potent this band really was. And this is really the beginning. I love Boy. It's one of my favorite debuts out there. They never really sounded like that once, but the urgency of this album was a statement. And so I can see this one hanging around for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. It's the album that really introduced them to the world. That's when people around the world probably first realized, oh, this U2 is really something.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the album. My next one is, whereas Carole King, I'm not sure how deep she'll go into this. I just don't know. Again, it will depend on the matchups. This one, another, if you will, singer songwriter. that will, I think, go very deep is Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, 1973. Dude was at his peak. You can go back and listen to all those albums that he did in the early to mid 70s. There's almost zero bad stuff on there. I mean, it's all great music. He, along with his co-writer Bernie Taupin, they were in a zone. And you go listen back to these albums. You were talking a couple weeks ago about the Captain Fantastic album.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Just near perfection, every song. And this isn't a record with 7 or 8 songs on it. This is a record with, I don't know, it's 15, 16 songs, and you listen to it and go, "Oh my gosh." And there's 3 or 4 iconic songs on it, and then there's 7 or 8 songs that are even better.
All right.
And I love this. I could see this going very deep.
Cool. Next up for me, I'll be honest, not sure about this one. It's not my favorite album from them. In fact, I was shocked to see that it came in as low as 34 and that their other album came in at 45. They're of the 2 signature albums. Don't get me wrong, music from Big Pink from the band is a great album. But I just don't know how far this will go for me personally, just because I don't have the connection that I have with like the self-titled album. But it's a great album, highly recommended. I don't, like I said, I don't know if I would put it at 34, but it definitely requires being on this list. I just feel like that's awful low. Just being honest.
Yeah, and it's a great segue because the next one on my list is also by the band, and it's the one that we love more. And that honestly, I'm really surprised when we look at the Rolling Stone ratings. Back to your point, that the band is 45, and the band music from Big Pink is 34. It should be the other way around. In fact, the band should be even higher than 34 in terms of all time records. It's, in my opinion, the greatest Americana. It laid the groundwork for everything. 1969, it's after Bob Dylan goes electric, and then they come out with this album, and it sounds so timeless, and it's never lost its luster. It's still as great today as it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, now 56 years ago when it was released. This will go very deep because it is one of my favorite records of all time.
Nice. Yeah, agreed. Great album. All right, next up for me came in at 200, and that's AC/DC's Highway to Hell. It's the last album with Bon Scott. And let's be honest, I love all the Bon Scott albums. I mean, you can't go wrong with Powerage, High Voltage, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Everything. I love Bon Scott era. That's probably one of the best bands to me, is that era when he was the lead singer. Um, I would say up through For Those About to Rock, every single album is absolutely required owning if you like that style of rock and roll, and that includes 2 Brian Johnson records. I love what he did. This is their biggest album, and it's hard to deny. It's my favorite AC/DC record. Maybe period between that and Back in Black. I jockey back and forth between the 2 of those. But I'm a Bond guy, so I'm probably going to go with Highway to Hell. And I hate to go with a popular record, but it's just undeniable. It's a shame that they couldn't continue. It's a shame that Bond passed away because, I mean, if this is a sign of where they were going, it's just unreal. But seriously, I would start there and then go backwards. There's no drop off. Every record they released to me could be on this list, but this was their pinnacle, one of their pinnacle records. So 1978, one of my favorite records. Highway to Hell. This will definitely go deep for sure.
It's popular for a reason because it's really good.
Yeah.
And that's what there's so many on this list that we're talking about. They made the 500 for a reason. Some of them we laugh about, like Trout Mask Replica. Have no idea. It shouldn't even be in the top 5,000, but that's another story for another day. But most of these records not only were critically acclaimed, but also commercially successful overall.
Yeah.
And this one certainly was, that I'm going to talk about next, that made my vinyl for a few weeks ago. That's Pearl Jam 10, the debut album from Pearl Jam. Honestly, in my opinion, it never got better than that. The next couple of records are really, really good.
Yeah.
10 to me is the best. And I actually think 10 could go really deep. And one reason is I think it's a quintessential grunge record. I'm not saying it's the best record
Yeah.
by far, but that album hit at the perfect time. Grunge had taken off a couple years before, but people in the mainstream were starting to take notice, and it's not a pure grunge record, it's just a good rock and roll record. But to me, it's a quintessential grunge record because it was true to the roots of grunge, but also added some mainstream elements, and the songs were just phenomenal throughout. Eddie Vedder was just amazing. So yeah,
Absolutely.
this one could be a dark horse to go fairly deep. And I wouldn't have said that when we started doing the podcast, but this one has a chance to go pretty deep.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it goes deep. And I have to say, I was obsessed with Pearl Jam, absolutely, and it was because of this album. Every album, don't get me wrong, Versus is great. Vitology has some brilliant songs on it. Um, No Code kind of fell off. I know a lot of people, that's kind of like a dark horse album. A lot of diehard Pearl Jam fans say that's their favorite. But let's be honest, I collected every single CD single from 10. Everything I could find, I bought. I was obsessed with this band. They're the band I connected with the most. And I'll be honest, everything that followed kind of was a little bit of a letdown because this album was so good. So I'm right there with you. I'm rooting for that album. If there's any way that I can have any influence, let's keep it going.
Mhm.
For me,
No pressure.
yeah, no pressure, man. For me, you will totally agree with me on this. Led Zeppelin's debut album, Led Zeppelin 1, is one of, if not the best. I would put maybe Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? It's kind of neck and neck between those albums as far as the best debut album of all time. This album is just absolutely earth-shatteringly good. Um, I There's nothing more I can say that hasn't already been said about all of Led Zeppelin, really. But this is where it started, and to come out of the gates with an album this powerful, to bring blues to the masses in a way that made it felt stadium, just huge arena rock, when blues has never had that sound. To give it that level of power and that level of influence, Led Zeppelin did it, man. I'm not saying they're the first band to do it, but they were one of the first bands to put that style of music in this realm. Just astronomically one of the best albums ever. I love this album. This could win the whole thing, to be honest. So yeah, Led Zeppelin 1. Love it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're the first ones to do it, but they just did it better than everyone else.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's hard to deny. Yeah, and that's where I'll go with this one. They actually what I'm about to talk about, the band, is the Byrds, Sweetheart of the Rodeo. They may have been the first ones to do what they were doing. They introduced the world to the concept of you could take country, honky tonk, hillbilly, Americana, rock, everything, and mix it all together and come up with this. What's so incredible about that Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, and of course, Graham Parsons had such a great influence on it, was you had a band that had kind of been, they'd started out as more of a, let's do a lot of Dylan covers and do them really well, and let's do some more hippie stuff. This record is when they brought it all together into where I think they wanted to go next with this. At the time, it wasn't called Americana, but taking the honky tonk sound and updating it to
Mhm.
where it was cool, where hippies would listen to it, country people would listen to it, rock people listen to it. It's an album that pretty much anyone who loves music could listen to this album and agree on it, whether they're a country fan or a rock fan. It predated the Eagles and everything else that became popular, and it's so close to perfect, and it will, I'll go ahead and say it now, it will go very deep.
Nice. As it should. All right. Well, next up for me is one that I think everybody would think that this will go deep and think that it should go deep. Came in at 80, and that's John Lennon's Imagine. I'll be honest, I would rank John Lennon's solo material as my third favorite behind, in this order, Harrison, McCartney, and then Lennon. And I love John Lennon. I love his stuff with the Beatles, and Imagine is a great record. I just don't think it's as great as maybe. I don't think the sum of the parts. Um, I feel like some of the parts exceed the sum of the parts, if that makes sense. It's a little disjointed, honestly. I connect more with the Plastic Ono Band. I love, love, love that record. That's hands down my favorite John Lennon record with Yoko. This is not with Yoko. Um, I say this to explain a way that I know that this is a classic. I get it. I just don't connect with it in the way some other people do. So this is a question of matchups. How this gets matched up with other things, it can definitely go deep, or it can be matched up with Radiohead and get knocked off tomorrow. So
Yeah, interesting point and a good segue to my next Vinyl 4 record that was selected by me, and that it came in on the Rolling Stone at 2.99. It's Bob Dylan and the band, the Basement Tapes. It's like a Reese's cup. You take chocolate and peanut butter, mix it together. It's a
yeah,
great combination, right? To
right.
a band that I love and an artist that I love, but separately, they both made better records. The band is a better record. The band. Music from Big Pink, I think, is a better record overall. Of course, Blonde on Blonde is better. I would even say Nashville Skyline, Free Will, and Bob Dylan, all those. But those two together still made a great record. It's a lot of, if I understand the history around it, stuff that they recorded together years prior. It was released in 1975. But again, it's another blueprint album. It could have been maybe been even a single. We say it all the time about double LPs. Has so many great songs on it. I don't know how far this one gets. It's probably, like you said, some of it's going to have to do with the matchups.
Yeah,
It's hard to deny a Bob Dylan band I guess in a basement wherever they were recording it. Very personal record. It's hard to deny that. But if I put it up against the band, it won't make it past.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you agree because that's what I was thinking about that one as well. Great album though. It is a great album.
Great
Um,
album.
all right, next up for me is a band that had just gotten to their third transformation. Maybe their second transformation, I guess. I don't know. That's Radiohead, OK Computer. I mean, I'm telling you, Pablo Honey was really a letdown because Creep was such a huge song, and I felt like the rest of the album was just kind of like okay. There were some good, really good moments on it. And then all of a sudden they released the Bends, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, how has the band not only figured things out, but created a masterpiece? Because it was, the Bends is a masterpiece. Equally so to this album, but this album just took it to another level. OK Computer, it just like they saw into the future and they depicted it and created an album that was so futuristic, but yet it was so approachable, and so it still sounded like what they were doing with the bends, but they just took it up another level and they experimented more and they started getting more political. And I don't know, man. It's a killer record. Was very, very hyped. I get it. But just once again, it was that transformation from Pablo Honey to the Bends. And then all of a sudden they transformed themselves into something else and evolve so quickly. Um, just a brilliant, brilliant album. This could go deep. It is a question of matchup sometimes, and I say that because you have your next album, which
Yeah,
has some connection here. If those two were
yeah.
matched up, I don't know if this one would last. I really don't. I'll be honest. So, but phenomenal album, phenomenal band, and I can see why it got all the hype. Even to this day, go back, listen to that record. It holds up very well.
It does. And so my next record, I will not use the word segue again, although I just used it. I'll use the word transition this time. What a great transition, because the next record for me, I have two left here. This one is also by Radiohead, Kid A. It's such a great album. It may be their peak, it may be their pinnacle. There's a lot of discussion and argument amongst fans. What's the best record? Kid A. There's a very good argument for it. OK Computer is probably more important because it was that transitional album for them.
Right.
But they don't get to Kid A without OK Computer. Period. Right? They
Absolutely.
were at Pablo Honey, the Bends. They had to do something to get to the masterpiece of Kid A. That's, to me, another reason why OK Computer is so important. But what else can I say about Kid A? It's such a great record. It could go very, very deep in this. Again, matchups, but this is a record for me that I could see this beating out a lot of other records in upcoming rounds.
Yeah. Well, the next one for me and the last one on my list, my number 8 here, pick here that we did on the last round, came in at a whopping 420. 420. That's coincidental because I think the first time I listened to this album, I was really high. So it
You were
enhanced the
celebrating 420.
it enhanced the effect. But Portishead's Dummy, this is their debut album. I remember when I first listened to this album, I hated the single. I hated Sour Times. I just thought it was just weird and didn't like it. And then this girl that I was really good friends with, we hung out a lot. We didn't really date. We just hung out a lot. But we just had a really close connection. We listened to a lot of music together. We would partake in some stuff from time to time. But anyway, she turned me onto this record and I was just floored. I'm like, who the heck is this? And then Sour Times came on. I'm like, oh, okay. I think I like it now. But yeah, the very first song, Mysterions, is great. I've talked about this during the last episode of how big Glory Box was. You've heard Glory Box. It's been in a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. It's brilliant. I would say Wandering Stars. This album is a night album. And if you have the opportunity to listen to it in the car at night on a road trip, highly, highly recommended. Like I said, it's pretty deep, and this is a personal thing for me. It is about matchups. So it's not only just the matchup, but it's my mood at the time when this gets matched up with something else. But believe it or not, this could go deep because it's a personal album for me. So highly recommended. If you've not heard this album, I'm telling you, check it out because it set trip hop. It put trip hop on the map, hands down.
Yep. My last one came in at number 79 on Rolling Stone. This one was so easy. I haven't had many easy choices throughout, but this was easy. Led Zeppelin 2. And it didn't occur to me until we were talking about it on the last episode that I said, I think this might be if Led Zeppelin 1 is the greatest debut of all time, Led Zeppelin 2 might be the greatest sophomore record of all time.
Yep.
I mean, the band might be the other argument for it. That's another great one. But
Absolutely.
Led Zeppelin 2, I mean, can you imagine putting that on your record player in what was it, 1969, and Whole Lot of Love comes on and you're going, you've heard Led Zeppelin 1, so you're probably not too surprised, but Whole Lot of Love takes it to an entirely different level. But then you go from that to What Is and What Should Never Be, which I still think is one of the greatest songs Zeppelin ever did. The transition in that song,
Yep.
it's worth hearing every time when it moves into the up tempo. It just what a great album. Heartbreaker, Thank You. I mean, Bring It On Home, and then of course Ramble On, which Ramble On became that moment where you go, oh, okay, they're not just a heavy blues rock band. These guys actually have some folk influences, and that was really the stage setter for what you would hear on Led Zeppelin 3 and Led Zeppelin 4. So
Yep.
Ramble On is such an important song in their catalog. Love this record. It will go very deep. It will be tough for other records to beat out Led Zeppelin 2 for me. All right,
I'm telling you, I mean, look
second.
at it though, real quick. Let's two
Yeah.
Led Zeppelins, two
Yep.
Radioheads, two the band.
Yep.
Do we have two from anybody else? I'm not seeing
No, but
any.
we have the Dylan in the band. So the band actually are three times in this, and it's so random. I mean,
Totally random.
who knew we would have all of that in one? And then you have the Byrds, who did a lot of songs by Bob Dylan. So it is interesting. And speaking of that, I'm going to just quickly rattle off for those who didn't listen to the last episode. The next episode, we like to do this every time just to get everybody ready. We did this last episode. I'll do it again. I'm going to rattle off the matchups for round 9. Okay.
Yep.
I'll do your 4 first because you're going first next week. Your random selections for next week. This is hilarious. We talked about it before. John Mayall with Eric Clapton, Blues Breakers versus Derek and the Dominoes, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. Those are both Clapton records. Then you have Buddy Holly and the Crickets. The album is The Chirping Crickets versus Madonna Like a Prayer. Then your next matchup is the Magnetic Field, 69 Love Songs versus Buddy Holly, 20 Golden Greats. That's funny for 2 reasons. One, Buddy Holly again, which we haven't heard of Buddy Holly in the first 8 rounds, and all of a sudden he appears twice. But both of those records are numbers, 69 love songs and 20 golden greats. That's actually kind of funny.
Yep.
Just so random. And your last matchup, Grateful Dead, American Beauty versus Tom Waits, The Heart of Saturday Night. My matchups, Hole, Live Through This versus Run DMC, Raising Hell. Outcast, Stankonia versus The Clash, London Calling. Then I have Frank Sinatra, Songs for Swingin' Lovers versus Black Sabbath, Paranoid. That's an interesting matchup, to say the least. And then finally, for me, Al Green, Greatest Hits versus Eurythmics, Touch. I'm so excited about this round. I actually have been thinking about this round a lot the past couple of weeks, because I've really been thinking a lot about what I'm going to do in my redemption round when I can pick something up. So I'm trying to anticipate
Yeah.
what you're going to knock out, because there's a couple things that I will pick up, but we'll save that for next week.
Yeah, I was hoping that I could get a couple of redemption rounds on this one, but
Yeah.
to be honest, but yeah, it's not my favorite matchups for sure. But that's the way. That's the way the cookie crumbles, man. That's the way it shakes out. So that's cool. But I gotta say, the best matchup ever. You don't even have to say the albums. Just Frank Sinatra versus Black Sabbath is. I love it. I absolutely love it. I just love the juxtaposition there.
I will say this, and I'm not going to say the albums, but there are 3 albums in the next episode that would easily make my top 100 albums of all time, but maybe even my top 50 of all time. 3. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say which one, but I'm going to say if they're yours or mine, it's a mix. I'll say that.
Yep.
But there are some tough choices. There are 3 records. I only have control of 2 of the ones that move on. There are 3 records worthy, in my opinion, of making it to the Final Four, but I don't know how you'll vote, and I don't know if I'll be able to pick it up. So very interested in this next round. Looking forward to it. Hit us up.
Yeah.
Vinyl4podcast@gmail.com. Love to hear your feedback. Love to hear your votes. Tell us what you're voting for from previous episodes, or what you're going to vote for on the next one. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, how cool would it be? I don't know if you can do this on Instagram or if this is something they still do, but it'd be really cool to get an aggregate of what other people would vote for. So same matchups, and you can do the whole thing. So you can do 2-2. You can do, instead of getting 4 matchups, you can just get all eight matchups. But I would love to see what the listeners' point of view would be versus what we would go through, and then so forth. At least the first round, right? And not even narrowing it down from 16 to 8 to 8 to 4, and then 4 to,
Yep.
I would love to see that.
I would too. I'd love to see what the popular vote is on it. I think there'd be a lot of similarities, but we get some surprises too.
For sure.
That'd be pretty fun. Hey, let's keep growing this thing. We're getting good feedback from people. Let's keep growing it, and hopefully we'll get there at some point. I would love that.
Agreed.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening to the Vinyl 4. Be back next week.